G'day guys, Alan here. Welcome back to the workshop. In this video I want to continue with the project that I've started to make a replacement trolley for my horizontal bandsaw. So in the previous episode, and I'll put a link in the comments, I got to the stage where I'd made the new structure and the bandsaw is actually mounted on it. So now it's and that solves the issue of mobility and getting up to a better height. But now I want to get on with the coolant side of things. So I've got to make a provision for a pump, or work out the pump, and then have a drain on the drip tray. So the pump first. I have a pump. I've had this for about 10 years. I actually bought it originally as at a machinery clearance sale. I had other things in mind for it, but it's just been hanging around, so it's got a use now. So, but it needs to sit in a housing. I'm going to make the housing from this piece of 100 nominal bore pipe that's hanging around. So basically, I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but so that'll sit in there like that, and I've obviously got to cut this down to length and then mount the whole lot on the trolley. To make that happen, I need to make a mounting plate. I've got a piece of 125 by 125 5mm thick plate here. So that'll be welded onto the top of this. Have a hole cut in it and a hole pattern to match the holes in the mounting flange on the pump. So that should get me to a working mountable pump. The next thing will be to have a catchment can. So this was on some long ago forgotten piece of machinery, but it's clearly a coolant catchment can of what seems to be an appropriate sort of size. So that's in the mix as well. And then of course I've got to make a drain outlet for the drip tray. But I'm going to start off by taking this plate. So what I'd like to do is cut a hole in it to fit around the pump. And the piece that I cut out, the dump, I'm hoping to use to fill the bottom end of the pipe. So I'll be trepaning the piece out and hopefully not losing more, and hopefully having a piece that's big enough to be the bottom of the pipe. Enough talking, let me get on to it. Okay, so I'll be putting this in the 4-jaw chuck for trepaning, and to make it easier I really want to know where the centre is. Give myself a divot. So we'll do that. Yep, a centre pop on spot marks the X, and I'll be able to use that centre pop to get this centred in the 4-jaw. So remembering that I want to use the dump from the hole cutting in this plate to fill in the other end of the tube, I'm going to set the minimum diameter, or the inner diameter of the trepaning operation, to the size that I need that dump to be, which I'm going to say is 53mm radius, or 106 diameter. And the minimum I can also scribe on here, the OD of the tube, because I don't want the to be any smaller than the OD of the tube. So the OD of the tube is 114.7, so let's call it 114. That's 57. Oops. So this gap here basically represents the thickness of the tube wall. So I don't want to go smaller than that, and I don't really want to go any larger than that. But the inner diameter is the critical one, because the dump is going to be welded into the bottom of the tube and mustn't leak. Whereas at the top of the tube, where this piece is, if it should finish up being slightly larger than the diameter of the tube, it's not fatal. It would just be better if it isn't. So anyway, so now I've got to grind a trepaning tool, ideally, which will leave a kerf only about 2 millimeters wide. Okay, so I'm getting ready to grind my trepaning tool now. My first idea was to grind it out of this 8mm or 5/16 square section, but obviously that would be quite a bit to take off, and I thought, oh well, perhaps I'll have a go at modifying a parting tool blade. And this is the one I used to use before I got an insert parting tool holder, and it's basically just tapered on both sides. But then I remember this other Chinese thing which I'd never liked using, but it's got actually a better profile for this situation. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but the top of the top edge of the blade actually has a shouldered piece on it and a relief on the side, and I think this is going to be a much closer shape to what I want to finish up with. So I've just marked out some black bits there to grind off, and that will fit in there, and we'll see how that works. Across the top here, it's just under 2.5 millimeters wide, which would be good for my situation. I only have to go in 5 millimeters, so let's give it a go. So we'll start with giving the face of the wheel a quick clean up with the diamond, and take it from there. Yeah, so I think that'll be good enough. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put the additional clearance on the outside face that a trepaning tool needs. I'm going to do 2 angles, and hopefully won't undercut the and remove too much support from the cutting edge. So anyway, here we go. So I think that's all looking good. I think we'll go just a touch more, and then we'll change the angle. I think now, hopefully you can see better than I can just at the moment, but I'm thinking now that should be good. We might give it a try. Okay, so the trepaning operation on this piece of plate is perfectly within the capabilities of the old Hercus, so I might as well give it a leg stretch and let it do some work. So first thing is to get this centered in the chuck. So that's what this setup's all about. So we'll just have a quick squeeze at that. Alright, so I've got my plate set up in the 4-jaw chuck now, and I've used this, we call it a floating number 2 Morse taper centre. It's just parked on the front of the centre that's in the tailstock, and the other end's located in the divot that I made in the centre of the plate. I think you can see we've got that about right. This is moving. Anyway, that's obviously close enough what we're trying to do here. I'm not trying to get bearing fits happening or anything, no, we just want to be big hole in the middle of the plate. So that'll get the job done just fine. Okay, well I think we're all set to go now. I've got the I've tried to go for a setup here which will give you the best view of what's actually happening. It's all a bit cockeyed from my perspective, but hopefully it will work alright with the camera. So I've got the trepane tool set to be in the middle of the two lines that I described earlier on. So hopefully that means the hole will not be quite as big as it might have been, and the dump will be slightly bigger than it might have been. Both things would work to my advantage if that was the case. So I've locked the carriage down, and all the movement, the infeed is going to come from the top slide here. It has to be that way because I don't have a DRO on this machine, and I don't have any other way of checking the depth of engagement. So I need to go 5mm into this plate and no further, because otherwise I'll start chopping into the jaws, which wouldn't be nice. So I've got the machine set on a fairly slow speed, a back gear speed. Nothing too adventurous there. So I think it's time to have a go, see how it works out. I've been having quite a bit of trouble with the sound just lately. It cuts in and out for some reason, which gives a very choppy sound on playback. Well, that seems to be cutting all right. This is a job I really want to concentrate on, so if you excuse me, I'll turn the camera off and just pay attention to what I'm doing. Well, I'm about halfway now, but it's just started to feel a bit coarse and grindy, grumbly. So I've got to try and understand what's happening, whether I'm running out of side clearance or perhaps the tool needs to be touched up. Anyway, I have to do a bit of checking to find out what's going on. Well, the tool tip seems fine, and I can tell you it's pretty sharp. So I think looking at the pattern in the cut, I might not have enough side clearance. Yeah, anyway, I think there's probably not quite enough side clearance right up high there. So I might have to take the tool out and grind a bit more side clearance, because this lathe is pretty much on its limits with what I'm doing here. So it doesn't need the added aggravation of not having enough side clearance on the cutter. Now a bit further, I actually have, you can probably see it here, a piece of yellow plastic card slipped in behind the piece of work, so the trepaning tool should hit that and show me a yellow marker before I go through and hit my jaws. That's the plan anyway. But I can hear the difference as it approaches the jaws now, so we're pretty damn close. Take it very slowly. Right. and perhaps you can see it's starting to move now. So in fact, you can probably just see down through the crack there, there's a yellow witness, so call it done. So I can see that witness most of the way around. You see that witness most of the way around now? So we'll call that done. And just clean the rest up with a file. Right, let's pull it out and have a proper look. There's my yellow card, which did the business very nicely. So it provided a good witness. So we can see we're close as damn it all the way through. Right, don't leave the chuck key in the chuck, Alan. Always a bad idea. Okay, well the disc separated from the back piece without any problem at all. So now I've just got to peel off this wicked burr here, or flashing. We just go around with the pliers like that and peel it off. Just get the deburring tools out and make it safe. Okay, so let's see what we finished up with. So this was the dump. So that's going to be pretty much perfect for sealing this end of the tube. I've just got to decide whether or not to just stick it on there and weld around the outside, or clean the inside of the tube up a little bit and let it in. Still thinking about that. The other part of the deal, which has to go for the top, you can see finished up with the hole still slightly smaller than the OD of the tube. So that's going to be easy to weld that on the top with the 4 mounting holes. So I'd call that trepaning a ripping success. Very happy with that. Now of course this water pipe is horribly out of round, as you'll see. But I just want to try to clean the end up so I've got a flat surface to work with. Let's start with that, see how we go. Taking very light cuts because I've got a hell of a lot of stick out here, but that's cleaning up alright. Go a bit more. Right, that'll be good enough for that. And just deburr the outside a bit. Very different working with this machine compared to the Herc. It's just like moving from the jewellery store into the blacksmith's. I don't know whether you better read that, but this disc finished up about 107. Pretty close. And we've got a bore here. It's going to vary enormously, but probably about 105.5. So I'm thinking I might just skim a little bit out on the inside here and see if I can set it up so that disc just sits in the top there for a positive location. Can do without that. And we'll try 120. Alright, let's try 0.2 at this much lower speed. That was a bit more successful, wasn't it? It looks like a 106.7. And we come out to another 0.1 and check again. Now I reckon that's going to be good enough. So we tap that in and we've got a solid basis to weld from. Alright, I thought I might as well have a go at parting this off. Might not be the brightest idea I've ever had. Let's see how it works out. Doesn't feel right. Let's go to the bandsaw. Now this won't be able to cut all the way through, there's not enough height there, so I'm going to preemptively rotate it round a little bit. Okay, so I'll clean this end up on the lathe. The machined a small rebate just as a locating step to locate this and centralise it all, just make it easier to position things up. So now I've got the pump sitting on this plate that we've made. It's all centred up, so I'm going to spot through the mounting holes and drill my hole pattern. I'm going to tap these. These holes are 7mm, so I guess they'd be a sloppy fit for a 6mm bolt. But I decided I'll use 1/4 inch bolts, they won't flop around quite so much on that bolt pattern. Let's see if I can hit this without hitting the pump. There's one. It's bloody heavy, this pump, it's all cast iron. Won't matter when it's mounted, but playing around with it's heavy. Right, 4 divots. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but the divots I don't think are particularly symmetrical. So that's why I decided to mark them through rather than try and get them by measuring. But it probably means it'll only go together one way round, and I forgot to mark which way I had it. Oh well, we'll find out when we get there. Okay, so set up in the milling machine to drill and tap these holes. I'm just doing it with by feel here. It's going to be good enough. I mean, a 1/4 inch bolt's going to flop around in the 7mm hole anyway, so there's no point getting too excited. Anyway, we'll drill and tap them in without moving them. Right. I should have chosen my bolts because I've got to decide now whether to go 1/4 UNC or 1/4 Whitworth. I'm going to see what I've got in stock. Okay, so we'll be using these little fellows. These are 1/4 BSW. 1/4 BSW and UNC are both 20 TPI, threads per inch. But of course the Whitworth is a 55° thread form and the UNC is 60. If you've got the thread gauges in check, you'll see that if you match up the tap to the thread, you'll actually get a better fit, although they're interchangeable. Okay, so 1/4 BSW, bit of thread tapping goop. Right, really sticky stuff this is. Now what speed have we got here? Let's slow it down a bit, mate. And back out. One down, 3 to go. Okay, well that's given us the threaded holes for our bolt pattern. Let's go over and see if it fits. Okay, well I'm pleased to see that that hole pattern is a very good fit for the pump. So I can dismantle this now and weld the top and bottom plates onto the what do we call this? The cylinder, I guess. Let's get to it. Okay, so I've done my welding. First weld didn't work out that well. I was travelling a bit too slow, so I got a bit of a bulbous thing there, but the other three were fine. And so after I did that, I put it in the lathe and it was about a 2 thou facing cut just to clean the face up. So that's all good now. Oh, and I guess it's obvious. I profiled the outside edge of the plate to match the base of the pump, so it'd be obviously a whole lot cleaner and neater. So this didn't have to be watertight here. Not much of a challenge to any sort of a welder, obviously. At this end, when I weld the plug in there, that does have to be watertight, so it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. But anyway, that's what we're going to do next. Well, that went as well as I could have hoped. I think that's going to work out just fine. It's not, of course, the neatest looking weld. There's a little daggy bit there where my wrist, for some reason, decided to do a bit of a hiccup, but I still think it's actually a full coverage. So, I think I've managed to get it in one go. Anyway, we'll fill it with water and see what happens. So I've got it full of water, sitting on a tissue, on a bit of plastic. So if there's any leak at all, I'll just see a damp patch on the tissue. So we'll let that sit for a while and consider its options and get on with something else. Alright, so here's the frame, rubbed down, ready for some primer. I hate painting. Did I ever tell you that? Must have told you that before. Hate painting. Actually, it's the prep as much as anything, of course. But anyway, I might yet put a few more bits of steel on this, particularly because I haven't decided. Yet exactly how to mount the pump. But I don't want this stuff starting to get rust on the bare patches while I'm doing it, so I'm going to slap a coat of primer all over it, and that'll keep it under control. Alright, it took 2 hours and it was a pain in the ass to do because all those fiddly little bits, but at least now it's all primered up and won't go rusty on me. But I've decided I won't be putting the top coat on with a brush. It just took too damn long. Be a rattle can job. Okay, well this guy's been standing there for a couple of hours now. And she's bone dry. So we're calling that done. Very happy about that. So I'm cutting a 1/2 inch BSP thread here from my adapter into the cylinder. And I can tell you that turning a 1/2 inch BSP tap takes a bit of effort. Most of the way through now, so it's getting easier. Okay, well that's fine. I haven't decided yet quite what I'm going to do. I wanted to do a test to make the right size thread for the side for this fitting, and I was umming and ahhing, haven't quite decided about welding this on the side of the cylinder to give me the threads, because putting those threads into a curved surface might not be so easy. Right, so I decided I will in fact drill and tap a hole in this bottom of the cylinder, but I want to get the orientation correct, and it's a bit tricky because this thing's not got any straight edges or anything, and the bolt pattern's all over the place. But what I decided to do is I've got the pump on the same orientation as the cylinder. The cylinder will just go straight on with that orientation, and I'll use the spirit level across the bolts, same bolts over that side, and I've discovered that I'm sure you can see these is not horizontal. So I've, with a bit of experimentation, I've got what is it? A 3.9mm shim stack, or gauge block stack. If I put that in there, you're probably not going to be able to read the level, but that's pretty damn close to level. I mean, I'm not working with precision surfaces here, but anyway, that's level. So now if I take the gauge block stack over here and repeat the process, and rotate the drum until we've got horizontal, that's good enough. Now, old timers or seasoned machinists looking at this probably think, what is this idiot doing? There's a much easier way of doing this than that. Well, if there is, I didn't see it. Anyway, this seems to work, so I'm going to get on with it like this. Okay, so I've got the correct rotation in the vise now, but I've got to find where to put the hole. So using this straight edge on the curved surface, getting it level against a level horizon behind it, I'm pretty sure that that's the contact line, and the distance up from the end is easy. The bottom's 5mm thick. I know how big the hole is I want, so I can work out where to put the hole. Well, that's the theory. Soon find out, won't we? I can drill the hole. Okay, so I've just done a sanity check against my calculations. So I've got a backing piece here and a 5mm gauge block, and yes, it looks like if I put the hole there, that's going to turn out in about the right place, at least the correct distance from the bottom. So, time to start drilling and stop worrying about it. What's the worst that can happen? So correct drill size, tapping drill size for half-inch BSP is actually 18.5. But I haven't got an 18.5, I've got an 18. So we'll use this and then a reamer to open it up a little bit. Now, the big reamer that I want to use is too long to fit here, so I'll have to take this out and do it by hand in the vise. So this reamer will take us up pretty close to 15.5. And I realised I could do it here if I just took the chuck out, so that was a better option. Oops. Right, well I guess that's through. Hole's a bit bigger. As sticky as syrup, this stuff. Seems to work pretty well there. That's alright, I think we'll just back out all the way. Now obviously that isn't a very long thread, but I don't think that's going to matter. Because it doesn't have to hold, well, it does technically hold some pressure, but it's not like it's going to get pumped up. Yeah, that'll be alright. I'll put that in there with some sealant cement stuff which will actually set, and that'll be fine. So the fitting in this tank is a nipple with 3/8 BSP one side and 1/4 BSP the other. I don't care about the fitting on the inside, but I do want the maximum flow through this fitting, so I'm going to open it up with a whatever size twist drill will fit on the big side. Yeah, it's pretty handy having a pillar drill, pedestal drill, because a bench top one wouldn't have managed that. Oh, also I want to be on this. Oh, this speed's probably all right. I thought it might grab. It's going into brass. Let's try doing it really slow. So I think I'm most of the way through now. Just keep going, take it easy, we should be alright. And there we are. Okay, so this box originally had a nipple, something like this, braze welded into the bottom of it. It was 3/8 BSP on the outside, 1/4 on the inside. But anyway, as you just saw, I just drilled through to open it up quite a bit, and then chopped it off on the inside to minimise the restriction of flow between the two tanks. I cut it off with this little guy, which was pretty good. Didn't have any trouble trying to, so you can see what's going on. Oh well, anyway, you get the idea. This thing was able to get in there and do the business. Alright, well that worked out alright. I was originally planning on joining these two together using a bit of plastic hose and a pair of these barbs. In fact, you might have seen a short video where I showed you how I held that to do it. But then I thought, no, I'd rather actually go for a really close coupling without any plastic. So that's what I've done here. And I think you can start to get the idea. These two, the bottoms aren't exactly level, although they're pretty close, so it's going to make it easy. So my next thing is to make a skid to mount these on, or a little subframe to mount them on, so they can't move in relation to each other, because otherwise they might try and do that on this joint. And then I'll just be able to bolt that frame down to the stand for the saw. Idea being that I'll be able to easily remove this, so I can get good access if I need to clean the tray out or whatever else. I had originally planned to drill and put a drain plug in the bottom of this, but it dawned on me I really don't need to, because if I make it so the whole lot's easy enough to lift out of the saw, then obviously draining it's going to be quite a simple matter. Okay, worst comes to worst, I can suck the coolant out using the hose pipe like I did with the milling machine. But yeah, so very happy with progress. So I've just got to make the base piece up now and flop some paint on this, and we're getting pretty close. Oh well, of course I've still got to do the outlet in the plastic in the drip tray. Okay, so I've knocked up this bit of a sled for the pump and the tank to sit on. This was made from a slice cut off this pipe and reshaped, and I can tell you it wasn't particularly interested in being reshaped. It took a bit of persuasion. These straps, or yes, I don't know what else you call them, straps, are quite thin. I would actually have preferred to use thicker material, but their thickness is what's required to match the bottoms across the two of these things. But anyway, so that's finished that bit, and of course that will fit in there. And it's a pretty snug fit. But I think you can see how that's all supposed to work. So we'll go and drop that onto the trolley, and you'll see that the idea is that this will stay as an assembly, and if I have to remove it for cleaning, maintenance or whatever, then I'll be able to just lift it off the trolley. So I'm just going to quick squeeze at that. So this piece obviously is designed to just sit over these two end tubes. And again, it's just a snug fit there. And of course the pump will sit in there. Like so. So, happy with all that progress, so it's time for some more painting. Okay, well that's got that painted and assembled. It turned out looking alright. Anyway, I decided not to paint the wooden shelf Doesn't seem to be much point because it's going to have bandsaw blades and other things thrown on top of it. So I think you can just take its lumps the way it is. Actually, this material is sold as structural flooring, and whilst it's particle board, and whilst it isn't formally waterproof in the same way as the green tinge stuff is that they may use for kitchen benches, it is designed to tolerate being outside in the weather for up to 3 months. So it does have a fair bit of moisture resistance, so it'll be fine for this job, because it'll only get wet if I have an accident. Well, the progress is a bit slower than I was hoping for. I guess my time estimation skills are pretty weak. Anyway, I like keeping these videos to about half an hour, and I'm already well over that, and there's quite a bit more still to do. I've started work on the plumbing. So I finished the structure, as you can see, and it's all painted up. So it's the plumbing and the mods to the drip tray and all that's to do. And I've made a good start on those, and it's clear that there's at least another video in this. So whilst I was originally hoping to do this in 2, it's now going to be 3. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll rejoin me for the 3rd and final one. Cheers.